Greetings, Space Marines. You've slain the enemies of humanity for nearly a year. You've bolstered the ranks of the Imperium by the millions, and you brought us victory time and time again. Now the Emperor calls upon you once again for a new year of Space Marine 2 content.
So we have been absolutely blessed by Big E himself, friends. So not only are we going to get a look into the patch 10 contents that's dropping, yes, early September, but a sneak peek on year 2's content updates as well. And it is jam-packed with new weapons, new operations, new cosmetics, kind of new everything. So we're going to take a deeper look inside and break it down for you all here, but first, here's a clip.
Greetings, Space Marines. You've slain the enemies of humanity for nearly a year. You've bolstered the ranks of the Imperium by the millions, and you brought us victory time and time again. Now the Emperor calls upon you once again for a new year of Space Marine 2 content. Starting next week with patch 10, all the way to patch 15 next year, here's a taste of the free content we have in store for you. New operations, a new PvP game mode with a playable hell route, 3 PvP arenas, gameplay modifiers, and much more. Like the addition of new enemies and bosses for you to take down, the Chaos Spawn and the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Like several new weapons with which to dispose of them in the Emperor's name: Pyre Blaster, Pyre Cannon, Power Axe, Xenophase Blade, Combi Melter, and others. Brought to you by our next playable class, the Tech Marine. And to further enhance your looks, next week will mark the release of our Season Pass 2, which will add 9 new cosmetic DLCs packed with armor pieces, heraldry decals, and weapon skins. Stay tuned to our social media channels and see you all very, very soon.
So holy crap, friends, that looks absolutely amazing, and I know you're all as excited as I am. But let's first take a look at those operations. Now, not too much is known aside from us getting 4 new operations, and I gotta say that's super refreshing because it was getting a little stale, re-rolling all the same operations over and over again, but with the new added mix, this is sure to bring a lot more new challenges and new content. But we do have 2 image stills. Now, the first one looks like a kind of deserty industrial landscape. We probably will have a mixture of inside and outside combat in some facilities. Perhaps looks like a tiered in mission if we're following in the same veins as other missions as we've seen before. But the second one actually looks like we are going to be inside of a new facility, and it looks, of course, from the image still more Chaos related. Maybe it will be a combination between Tyranids and Chaos within this mission, because God knows we still need more. But friends, I think that's all we have to share on the operation, so let's get on to the next bit. Okay, so I might have pulled the gun a little bit too quickly on that one because I didn't want to miss out on what's going to be another change to the operations, which is going to be the stratagem/modifiers. So this is going to allow us to, modify the mission to make it a little bit more harder, enemies more stronger, all that good stuff. But it's sure to add a new interesting twist to our mission gameplay, and I'm all here for it. So next up is going to be the PvP update. So there's going to be the inclusion of a brand new mode where you're going to be able to control a Hell Brute, and this is going to be a Chaos on Chaos type of PvP match. And this is similar to what we saw in the first Space Marine game where you got to manage Dreadnought and take it against your enemies, but now we're having a chaotic twist to it. But that's not it for PvP. We're also going to be getting 3 new PvP arenas, so get all that dueling out of your system, friends, and prove who is the strongest among you. And since we're still on the topic of Chaos, I wanted to take a quick closer look at all the new playable Chaos Champion skins. That's right, we've finally been blessed with them, and I say it's a long time coming, so let's take a quick closer look. So for the uninitiated, we might as well just name our Chaos Champions, so let's start from left to right. So starting off, we are going to have the Black Legion. Now these guys are your Chaos Unaligned, Chaos Undivided guys that, you know, draw on the powers of all the dark gods themselves, and they're not going to be locked into any one god. They're looking absolutely badass with those horns, and they look much like my tabletop versions of them. Next up, we have the edgy vampire boys themselves. Now, these guys like to scare their enemies with brutal efficiency and tactics, and, you know, carve away the flesh of anyone that stands in their way. And then we are following that up with the World Eaters. Now, I love these guys on the tabletop. I love them in the video game. They are my favorite of the Chaos Legions. These guys are all about anger and melee combat, and they're looking absolutely badass. And kind of similar to a bit of Karn, if you know that champion. Next up is going to be the Iron Warriors, the Siege Masters themselves. Now, this is more of a stripped-back aesthetic, but loving the new faceplate. I think it really ties the look together and really captures the overall aesthetic of these guys. After that, it's going to be the Alpha Legion. Now, these are the stealthy boys that are all about espionage as well and messing with their enemies. And who knows, sometimes they're chaos, sometimes they're not. The lore's still out there, but I think they look great. And last up is going to be our Death Guard. Now, these guys are the more kind of cursed out of all the cousins in terms of looks, but they have the gifts of Papa Nurgle, and they are looking quite good for that kind of gross, stinky boy look. But that's not all for Chaos. We're also going to get our hands on 2 new enemy types for them, and that's going to be the Chaos Spawn and the Mutalith. These guys are looking absolutely fierce, and I cannot wait to fight them. They are probably going to be extreme threats that we might have to work in duos, or if you're feeling fancy and brave by yourself, but this is going to be a fun fight. And I can't believe it, friends. We're finally seeing all the new weapons that have been teased up, and I'm super excited. So let's go over each of them. So let's first go over our Pyre weapons. So our Pyre weapons are flame shooting weapons, and the first one is going to be the Pyre Blaster, which is a single handheld weapon. And then for the heavier version, it's going to be the Pyre Cannon. Now, this is going to be the one that's doing extreme damage and going to be a huge benefit to our heavy class. Let's talk about our Pyre weapons. Now, our Pyre weapons are fire-based weapons, and the first one's going to be the Pyre Blaster. Now, this is for our Infernus-type Marines, if you're familiar with the tabletop. Shoots out flames, does devastating damage, and next up is going to be the Pyre Cannon. Now, this is the heavier of the types, and this is going to be for our heavy class. And this is going to be doing absolute devastating damage to those Majoris and Extremis type units on the battlefield. Now on to the melee weapons. Now, Power Axe enthusiasts, you are going to be so excited. This thing looks absolutely amazing, and I'm all here for it. And especially you Space Wolves, I know how you love your axes, so we are excited for this one. Next up is going to be the Xenophase Blade. Now, for those who know, this is actually based off of alien tech, so it looks a little heretical. But do not worry, this has actually been repurposed by the Death Watch from Necron Technology, so it's perfectly safe to use. And it looks absolutely amazing as well. Last up is going to be a combi weapon. So if you don't know what a combi weapon is, it's a single firearm that combines a primary, which is usually a bolt gun, with a secondary special weapon like a flamer, a melta, or a plasma gun. So it's your all-rounder, and it tends to do a ton of damage, so we're super excited about this as well. And yes, we are finally getting a new playable class, the Tech Marine. For those of you that don't know, this class is basically our engineer that can fix different mechanical units on the field, and is a beast of melee, and has a really, really strong primary gun as well, typically. So I'm sure that this guy is going to be wielding his Power Axe weapon in hand and devastating anyone that he runs across. So we're super excited to see how he plays. And maybe you could do a little team up between him and the Dreadnought, because that's exactly what happens in Universe and on the tabletop, but we'll see. Okay, but we can also see with Season 2 that we are going to be getting a ton of new cosmetic and champion skin packs. And I'm super excited for this, friends, because they are looking really good from the leaks so far. So let's take a quick look. The surprise champion pack for me is actually going to be the Black Templars that we saw, and I do love my Crusading boys. I thought it might be the Emperor's Champion, but no, it's not. It seems to be more of just, one of their more elite units, but we're still happy for it. It looks incredible. Look at that drip, friends. That armor looks immaculate, and that sword cosmetic being so different looks really, really cool and very distinctive. Okay, I saved this one for last, so don't think that I forgot it, right? I wanted to talk about Siege Mode. So Siege Mode, aka Horde Mode in Space Marine 1 was one of my favorite things to do. I had an absolute blast with my friends and my brother just going through all the different waves and the different levels, and it had a lot of good variety and spice to it. Now, in Space Marine 2, having the Siege Mode is super much appreciated, and I am liking it, but over time it's getting a little bit stale for me, and that's because predominantly you're only in two main zones, going from one to the next, then back to the other, then back to the next, and fighting all the same enemy types. But all this is going to change, and I'm very happy that the devs have focused in on adding fresh new content to it. And then also, you already know we're going to be able to play as the Tech Marine in there. We're going to have the new cosmetics, the new weapons. So I think this is exactly what was needed to kind of spice it up and bring some much needed life back to Siege Mode. So we're super excited. Alright, so that's everything that I wanted to cover and break down for you in more detail, so I hope that you appreciated it. If you did, please like and subscribe, it helps us grow, and be sure to check out all the other type of content that we have on the channel, because we cover a lot of games on here. Well, friends, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.